Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I promised to do some more art journaling, and so I said I would bring you along on some of my pages, and so this is one that I'm starting now. I've been doing some stenciling and of course forgot to turn the camera on, so the first part of the stenciling is done, and I'm just deciding how I want to lay this stencil on here so that I can do a little bit more of this blue sort of sparkly color. And I use a dauber brush, and I just was daubing it from the lid of the paint onto some parchment paper so that then I can dab it onto the stencil. I'm using a creamy kind of paint called Art Alchemy. It's by, I think it's Prima Marketing, and I think that this color is called Magical Pond, and it's part of the acrylic paint, their Sparks collection. And I really like this paint. It's really nice to use for stenciling, especially because it's a creamy paint, so it doesn't seep under the stencil easily. And I like the sparkle in this particular paint as well. So I have sped this up a bit, so what you're seeing is me making decisions with the stencil. I can't remember the name of this stencil. I can put it in the description box below. Falling Leaves, I think, is what it's called. And I like this stencil. It's really nice. It's a versatile stencil, and you can use just bits of it here and there as well on projects or on a front of a card or something. And I just use the pouncing motion with the little foam brush. And I find that works really well, and if I want it darker in some areas, I just pounce a few extra times in that area, and it gives me a nice result for this type of stenciling. I'm learning more different stenciling techniques which I'm planning to do in my art journal, so hopefully I might share those with you. I'll see how they go. You can see a little bit of the other page that I completed just in the frame there to the left, and I will show you that one at the end of the video. I'll show you both pages side by side. The other page was just a lot of, I did a black acrylic background on the page, and then I did a lot of fussy cutting. So it was more a creation page of putting it together more than a lot of techniques. So I didn't share the process on that. And this page is loose that I'm working on because I find with stenciling it's difficult to keep turning my book all the time. So if I have a particular layout that I need to turn the page quite a bit, I do it on a loose page like this. This is a heavier weight copy paper, and then I will put it into the book afterwards. So the page that you see in behind is just one of the pages from the book that I made. And there's the paint I'm showing you, the Magical Pond. Yes, I did have the name right. And now I've moved on, and I taped off this stencil because I wanted this dragonfly to put in here. So of course, I forgot to turn the camera on again, so you can see that I actually have finished it. And so this stencil is a full 6x6 inch stencil, but I just wanted the dragonfly. So I taped off, which took quite some time. I take small pieces of masking tape and tape all around where I want the stencil part that I want, and then I stencil away. And so you can get a smaller part of your stencil if you want to. And then I just peel all that masking tape off and wash the stencil, and it's all good. So I finished stenciling this dragonfly, and I used an acrylic paint. There is a little bit of bleed. You can see it happens more commonly with acrylic paints because they're a little bit thinner than the cream paints. And so I'm taking another one of my paints, and I can't remember which one this one is, but I do show it in a little bit. And I'm painting with a very fine little makeup brush. I'm painting around the edges of the stencil. And so what happens is it gets rid of the bleed marks, the little bleed marks that were there. And it also gives more dimension and more color to the dragonfly, which is also something I wanted to do. So two things happening at once. The base of the butterfly was just a teal colored acrylic paint, so flat, and then adding this bit of sparkly paint around the edges gives it a little bit, I don't know, add something to it, I feel. And I usually turn the page also when I'm painting, because from different angles you can see areas where you may have missed, and so now I'm just going back in and touching up little areas that from this angle don't look quite filled in enough. And there's the paint, and it was again the same paint, and it's called Mermaid Sparkle. Has a bit of a green, more greeny tone to it, and it's also part of that same Prima marketing collection of the Art Alchemy, I believe is how it's pronounced. And here I'm just showing you a little closer up view of the stenciled leaves and the dragonfly before I move on to completing this page. And my plan for it is to do some fussy cutting, and then I'll be back and show you how I put it together. So I'm back, and I've got my things picked out and fussy cutting done, which of course takes time, and I don't really feel that anyone needs to watch that being done on camera. And so what I wanted to do was add in some elements to this page, and this little piece is from a digital download, and I'm also pointing out there some little blue butterflies that I stamped onto the page with just my little butterfly stamp and some distress ink in the tumbled glass. And they're very subtle, but I liked how they looked. They're not as shiny, they're matte, and so they're a little bit easier to see on the page than they are necessarily on the camera, but I just liked what they added to the page. The piece that you see on there with the pink flowers is part of a digital download page, and I just cut a portion of it out because I like that, how it fit there with the tag in behind and the flowers and the butterfly. These are some fuchsia flowers that I cut from an English garden book, and I liked, in my mind, I was thinking, you know, the hanging baskets that are hanging right now, they hang with different greenery and different flowers, and if they have fuchsias in them, the fuchsias are hanging down as well in amongst the different leaves and greenery and flowers, and I really like how that looks. And then I added the hummingbird. My mom used to always have a fuchsia hanging basket hanging in the window of our kitchen, and the hummingbirds always came to that fuchsia basket. And then I did show you that I used the double-sided tape to tape the page into my art journal book. So it's now taped in place, and I'm just adding these final elements using my art glitter glue. And I like this glue for doing fine gluing. I have purchased the metal tip that goes on the top of it, so you're able to get a really fine amount of glue. It is a bit of a pain because it clogs if you don't put the pin back in right away. So, because it's very, very fine, much smaller than the top of that black bottle. So you get a lot less glue, and you get a lot less seepage coming out from underneath what you're gluing. So you just have to remember to put the pin in. You can't leave it out for very long at all, and it will clog up. So what I saw another crafter do this, where they used the purple end. See, there's the pin going in. And then this in my hand is a little rubber purple tip that usually fits on the end of knitting needles. That's what it's used for, to prevent your stitches from falling off. And if you put that on the top, now it makes pulling the pin in and out way easier, because you can just squeeze that little rubber tip and it holds onto the pin, and then it pulls out and goes back in a lot easier. And you also don't lose your pin on your desk because it's attached to that little whatever color of rubber knitting nib you happen to be able to find. So it's definitely a good thing to buy and to go along with the fine tips on any of these glues. So you can see with that fine tip, excuse me, I'm able to add, even onto those fine little areas that I fussy cut out, I'm able to add a little bit of glue. And you can see I don't have any seepage coming from underneath that at all. It just is just the right amount, so it's really great. And yeah, I highly recommend that if you're doing any amount of fine work with gluing things down. And then this was just a little sticker, the hummingbird, and again, when you look at it, trying to decide the best place to put it. And there we go. And then I think finally I have a little label that I wanted to put in the bottom corner. And I glue that down, and I glue down and there I'm just showing how easy that is, how when you squeeze the tip of that little purple thing, how easy that pin comes out. Now I'm just gluing down that piece that I talked about before that I had fussy cut out, and then I think the other is a sticker that I peel the back off and stick that in place. So that finishes up my page. So I did a bit of stenciling, a bit of stamping, some fussy cutting, used a sticker, a couple stickers, and did some painting as well with a fine paintbrush. So a few different techniques used on this page, and I like it. It looks nice next to the other page, you'll see, and I like the two. One's a little simpler than the other, and I put the saying "Live gently" upon the earth on this page. I like to put some kind of a sentiment of some kind on the page. Just feel it adds a little something. And so here's the two pages together, and you can see the other one there. I don't know how many, I bet you there's 20 or more butterflies that I fussy cut out there. They're all about an inch in size, and they're digital download, so I can print them off as many times as I want, and I wanted mostly them in the shades of blue. And I scattered them all through this picture of this woman. I did not draw the woman. I again used the same collection that I used on the front cover. I have 12 of them from their Prima marketing thing. I got them on Amazon, and they're actually dividers, and then I just fussy cut out the picture. And then I've added black lace sort of at her neckline to represent her dress, and a little bit of pearls to represent a necklace. And then I've just kept cutting and adding in the butterflies, and I've made them all dimensional so they all sort of stick up a bit from the page. And yeah, I just had fun with it. I really just kept on adding them until I liked the end result. And then I also used a digital download of embroidery, and that is in the corners and in the upper corner here, and that's actually someone's embroidery, and they have scanned it and made it into a digital download that you can purchase and use. And I love it. I have several in that particular digital download of different embroidery pieces, and I just think they look really pretty. I love doing embroidery myself, but I love how she has done hers and then added them into a digital download so you can add them to other pages. And so I had not added a sentiment to the page on the left, and so that's what I'm doing right now, and I wanted to have it colored, so I just used one of my gelatos in blue, and I just put a little strip on over top of it, and then just with a slightly damp finger, and very slightly damp, I just rub it all in, and it changes the background from white to blue. And I just had stuck it on the back of some packaging because that makes it easy to peel off. And then for this particular sentiment, I cut it into pieces in order to put it on the page. And there's the gelato that I was using. I think it's a metallic gelato. And I like using them I've used them in some other projects as well to add color. And they're quite nice to work with. And the sentiment, I just again add it with the glue, and of course positioning it in just right place there and on the black. And I chose this time, what seems ordinary is often the extraordinary, and to me that just was fitting with, I don't know, it just struck me as being the right thing to put on this page. And the one thing about the art glitter glue is if you do get a little bit on your background, it dries clear. So that dried clear and no longer can see where that little bit of glue seeped out there. So those are the two pages. Here is a close-up of the lady one, and here is the close-up of the one we did together. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.